Alright, you had to started by your own. Can't answer that right now.
Ball calls.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, stay outside.
Seems like they were like, yep.
I'm sorry.
Just command, you know.
Instead of having there's more than one version of the way that people excuse. This one works really well for portable. Except close to a wall, there's one less flower shadows.
How are you finding that light?
So right.
What do you do? I've been using it for a while. And the lighting has always been perfect, so I'm going to work around it.
I'm a photographer, but I'm not very good at shooting indoors.
Yeah, it's like one of the first animated DVDs.
One thing about shooting outdoors, and if you shoot outdoors, you get somebody uses a flash, one not uses a flash, and somebody will shoot all over.
I know the flash always makes everything look a little.
Remember that's
You can use it, yeah, you can use it for fill outside. Just
Indoors,
That's nice.
this one's made by Gary Fall. They don't make this really big one. They would be one that's actually a soft vinyl. Really good. Those local stores around here.
Oh, okay. There's a Sandy's here. I find myself, looking at other things.
All my friends tease me, what's the piece of Tupperware on your flash?
It does kind of look like Tupperware.
It works really well now. Very good. My part already.
What is that?
Hi, did you want some water?
Oh, probably. I'll just sit here in the water. We've been kind of sitting in the same order all day. So as not to confuse anybody.
We have new cards.
Should we close our eyes and
Well, Ellen had to leave, so now it's all room. Yeah.
yeah, we're missing it.
Probably missing. Oh,
Yeah, Alan's
missing Sherry.
no, she didn't.
Rebecca.
Yeah, did she bring her?
Might be in the autograph.
You want to go back and check?
No, I think again. Amanda, what's Rebecca's name tag?
She has it.
Okay,
She's
okay,
been very
that's
good at
fine.
it. She's
Okay. Oh, and
Yours
there's
is actually not.
I know, here's Ellen's.
It's not recording right now.
Is it recording?
No, not back there.
Oh, dear God.
It's okay. Be careful. Be careful what you do. You might.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Actually, yeah, actually.
Hi.
Sorry, tiny bladder.
No problem.
It's the press. Do you guys want water?
2 more minutes.
Wow. Okay. No, it's actually good. That tripod. Because I'm actually rude.
You stole it.
It's okay.
I just carried it.
Yeah, it sounds like a blue line.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
You guys ever do stage work?
Yeah.
You do.
I used to.
Oh. Recently, I guess it's
Yeah, we'll bring them over. everybody, please make sure you turn off your cell phones so they don't make noise. Blah, 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 no entry, re-entry. And now we'd really like to welcome ladies of Tenchi Muyo who have graciously come out of retirement to come to the podcast. I'm sorry, from the show. Who's Forever Young. Okay, and now we're just going to pass it over to them. And please do a brief intro. Like my friend said, I'm going to close my eyes and recognize you by voice.
Hi, I'm Patria Burchard, and I played Ryoko in Tenchi Muyo.
I'm Sherry Lynn, and I played Sasami and Pretty Sammy and Tsunami.
And I'm Rebecca Forstat, and I played Mihoshi.
Okay, any questions? You want to go first? Go ahead.
Actually, I was just wondering, can we clap?
That's fine.
Thank you.
Ask a real question now. Back in 2007, ADV and Genie On pretty much went Tango uniform back in AX. You know, it was kind of a big deal, and I was just wondering, you know, I was leaving, that pretty much leaves Funimation, Bandai, and maybe a couple of others. Just wondering, has it been hard getting work since then? In either anime or mainstream cartoons?
Oh yeah, well I can speak for anime because they've done quite a bit of it. It has. I think part of it, you know, was the recession and the reason that people were downloading stuff off the internet. And what's happened is that Japan, from what I've heard or read in different articles, isn't producing as much stuff as they used to. And the stuff that they are producing is more of the hentai type of thing. So, and then what happened was after we had a lot of work going when Saban Entertainment was here, and then when he sold that company, a lot of the other companies were sort of undercutting as far as like the rates and things like that. So they were getting more and more non-union people to work. And then all of a sudden, a lot of stuff just moved to Texas and other areas. So it's been a little bit, yeah, it's been different. You know, there's not as much product coming up, and there's also a lot more competition as far as working in Los Angeles. I think that's probably true for a lot
That was
of
a good
regular.
answer. I was just
Yeah, that's
wondering
Well, I think it's
what she
true
said.
for animation too. I mean,
Oh,
I think,
animation's just changed so much in the last, I would say, well, I always attribute it to when Robin Williams did, what was the name?
Everybody attributes it to
Aladdin, which I was fortunate enough to work on, but ever since he did this huge article in the Times saying this is the best job ever, every celebrity in town wants to do it, and so it's kind of for us voiceover actors who, worked and studied and done all our homework, we kind of are just fortunate if we get into the movie, let alone one of the leads or something.
right.
In fact, I think it was the New York Times that very recently, like within the last month, there was an article about how that was the beginning.
Was it?
Yeah.
I thought I made that up.
was. You did, because you said
I'm
that
glad they
before a
backed
month
me
ago.
up,
They backed you up, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a little on the dry side. I think the thing that's been pretty busy are video games. That's still pretty much going. For me personally, I think a lot of the video games are mainly men. So I've gone off to do other things like blogging and that type of thing.
Yeah, me too.
Do you guys have any favorite episodes?
Favorite episode?
We did talk about favorite
Yeah, we did. You
episodes.
talked about your favorite upstairs or downstairs, wherever we were.
Wherever we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked being bad. That was fun. It was more fun than the Tenchi, the
Yeah, we
begging,
all-
for,
We were
begging
all
for love.
loving Tenchi. We were all on the same page with that one.
When we were recording, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that we're just handed the script and, maybe we'll go from one episode to the next, but we don't really know what episode it is or what the name of it is, because sometimes they rename them, after they've been recorded. So they just are sort of, they become kind of a big blur. Like we can remember maybe little scenes and things. I mean, for me, I was mentioning in the other room that it wasn't even Mihoshi, the one that I remembered. I played a karaoke singing mom, which is something I almost never get cast for, at least especially back then, because there were other people that would play moms. I always played the little girls. And it was fun because she was like this really crazy, off the wall, loud, you know, insane kind of character, so it was fun to play. Mihoshi was too, actually.
Yes. I just remember a lot of yelling and screaming, and sometimes, you know, that we would save all the real fighting for the end of the session, because even if you have warmed up and you've trained your voice and you know what you're doing, that much screaming and yelling is still going to be hard on you. And so we would always wait till the end for all the real kind of stuff. You know, if Ryoko had a bone to pick with somebody, she picked it at the end of the session.
She usually did.
Yeah.
When you guys made when you guys went from doing the OVA, the TV series, to doing the movies, was there a big change? Because I noticed there was a change in the sound quality between the two. Was there a big change on how much prep time you guys had and the equipment that was used, or was it pretty much still?
Prep time's always about the same.
Yeah.
Literally, I think I said
right.
this, you know, in the other room. Literally, you're given your script like, "Hey, Rebecca, great to see you. Okay, you're going to be doing. Let's be ready to go." You know, and you have no idea what came before or after your little bit. So that's pretty much the same as doing it in the movie. The only thing that changed were we had different directors and producers and.
There's no prep time. The only thing I can think of as far as a change in sound quality might be a change in studio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you guys did change studios?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
From time to time.
And
I
I
went
find
through like 3 studios at least.
I find that, don't you, like in doing our games or whatever anime we're doing, you have your favorite studio and your favorite engineer and the mic that really likes
Place
you,
you really
and then
like
there's
you.
other places you go and the mic just does not want to be your friend that day, you know, and you're popping and hissing
Yeah.
and
That's true.
so it's you do get to have your favorite studios as you do things.
I think probably the ones that were done at Screen Music, which is it's not there anymore, but it was a really, really nice studio. I think they probably had the better sound quality. And then I remember we moved to another, at one point, I don't even know what part of it was. We were at some little kind of
I think I know
funky
which one.
looking place, I don't know.
Yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about. You kind of snuck in the back door.
Yeah, exactly. Recording studios can be really funny, you know, because they can be just, you know, in a really fancy place to like a little tiny phone booth
Yeah.
kind of thing.
There's places where they fix you lunch, and not only that, but they ask you, what do you want for lunch? And you can say, well, what can I have? And they say, anything. Or then there's the place where, you know, they stick you back in the corner, and they've got that rubber stuff on the walls. and
Yeah.
No place to sit. Yeah, they're all different. Sorry, you had a question.
I was just gonna ask how hard it is to get in and out of character, and like if sometimes you start thinking of the other characters you played in the past when you're, you know, trying to do your voice acting.
I think I'm sorry.
No, you go.
Okay. One of the things that I think all actors do, regardless of voice acting or stage or film or whatever, the really good actors know how to be in character and really, something about really believing what they're doing, Screen actors, you see that they have one take to do something really dramatic, and then, you know, they go sit and have a cigarette or something, and then they come back and they do that thing again, you know, and but they have to be able to throw themselves into that moment, and voice actors do it too. It's a level of concentration that, with practice, you can achieve when it's time to sit down and work, and you're aware that your production, whatever production you're in, is on a budget. It's time is money, and they put a lot into getting everything ready for that moment when you come in and do your thing. And so you really want to bring it. That's your job.
You don't have a lot of time to sit
Yeah.
and think about your, who was I or who am
Yeah,
I.
you do
know
all
what
that
you know what
before you get there.
I find too is like, especially like if I'm doing, little girls come to me really easy. Moms are a little harder because our voices are light. Or little boys. If I'm doing a little boy and stuff, I actually do physical. I stand like a little boy at the mic, and and all of those little tricks will help you just immediately just be ready when they say, go.
I think also a lot of people don't realize that when you're dubbing, it's a whole different kind of technique than, say, regular animation or, being in a film or anything like that, because you have to hit the lip movements of something that has been previously done. So it's a really hard skill, and there's a lot of people that can't do it. But you have to do that technical thing first, and then you're hoping that you're going to get your performance out of it, But sometimes it's just in getting the lips into the right places, and somebody saying, yeah, that's okay, I'm going to take that take, you don't have to do it again.
I think it's fortunate too. A lot of people who, the ones of us who do the dubbing and the all of that is the fact that we have an inner clock. Some people just can't connect with that, and if they'll literally say, can you shave off 1 second, and you have to have that knowledge, just innately to know, okay, I'm going to take off 1 second, and that'll make it work. So it's all those little skills.
It's usually a kind of a musicality, people that have a sense of rhythm in some way. In fact, it's really funny because Steve Kramer, who's, big voiceover actor, one time he was saying that every time the microwave goes off, he starts to talk. Beep, beep, beep.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard your little boy voice, Sherry. Can you demonstrate that?
Sure. Okay, guys, stand up. Yeah, right. Yeah, your mother. Am I bright red right now? I'm not used to performing in front of an audience. Just a mic.
So, for the characters that you guys done in the past, do they kind of carry on into your own personality? You kind of, I don't know.
I know that I have a hard, because not that I'm just so sweet, but I have a hard time playing the really villain or, seductress, the bitchy character with the low. I would love to, but it's like when those are thrown at me, it takes a little bit more work to do that.
Yeah, I pretty much play my own voice I could probably do a lot of different types of characters, but they almost always cast me as my own voice and little aspects of my personality. Like for instance, when I did Minmay in Robotech, everybody, was complaining that she was ditzy and everything, and I'm like, and Mihoshi too, and I was like, but that's me.
Yeah, I think that if they want somebody to do something different than what really comes naturally for you, they'll get somebody that it comes naturally for. You know what I mean? Unless they've already got you and they just need you to do a couple of lines.
Right.
So, not that it comes naturally to me to be a villain, because I'm not a villainous person. I'm kind of a nice person, I like to think, but I can sound like a villain, and it's fun to play a villain, and I don't have any trouble playing a villain.
You can get those great low tones.
I can get some low tones, so, and I would sound ridiculous as a ditzy character. If I really had to do it, I could do it for a couple of lines, but I couldn't sustain the character over a whole set of episodes, because it just doesn't come naturally to me. And I think, it's better to get somebody, if I were producing, I'd rather have somebody who could just do it naturally.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's easier on your voice too, because like what you were saying about doing boy voices, I don't do a lot of boy voices, but when I do them, I can't sustain it for a long period of time. Like I couldn't work an 8-hour day, which I couldn't even anyway, but anymore. But yeah, I mean, my voice would be
It's rough on
garbage.
yourself.
Yeah.
Sherry, when you do a wide range of voices, so it kind of goes back to the other question. Have you ever gotten locked into a specific voice that's different than yours in a studio, left the studio, gone to 7-Eleven or something, and projected that voice?
Well, you'll see me in my car like a lot of times. Yeah, talking to myself in that voice as I leave, you know. But usually it's also because I'm going, you know, I either was like kind of happy with what I did, or I was going, oh shoot, I should have done, you know, and playing with it as I go home and trying to remember it for something else, you know, at another time. So
We should pass each other in our cars, because I think I do the same thing.
yeah.
Are there any projects that you guys are working on currently that you're excited about?
I have something that has nothing to do with animation or
Well, no, that's fine. I mean, that was the question
Can
as
I-
well. 'Cause
okay.
I know you guys
Alright.
have a wide background as well. It's not just
Right.
animation.
Okay.
So yeah, that was my question.
Okay. I haven't been acting for about 3 years now. I quit acting to devote myself to writing, which may sound really weird, but that's what I wanted to do. And I have a website, patriaburchard.com, and I finished a novel, and I started on another one, and this is what I'm doing. So I'm trying to, I am now sending out query letters to literary agents to try to sell my novel, which is called Camelot and Vine, kind of like Hollywood and Vine. And it's about an unhappy Hollywood actress who is sort of a, be careful what you wish for accident. She fantasizes about romance with King Arthur and wishes that he would come and carry her away from it all. And unfortunately for her, she gets her wish. And finds herself in 6th century Britain, where there is like absolutely no toilet paper, no Kleenex and no nail polish, and the food is awful, and it's also really, really dangerous. And she has to use all her smarts to protect herself and find her way back to the 21st century, and she's not really sure she wants to return. So that's the book that I'm trying to market right now. I'm working on another one. I'm having a blast. I never in a million years thought that I would quit acting, because when you start, you don't ever want to do anything else. You don't think you're ever going to do anything else. But sure enough, I'm enjoying myself like crazy. So that's my project. And thank you for asking. I wanted to talk about it.
I'm still working on a movie called The Lorax. It's a Dr. Seuss film. And that's coming out, I bet it's coming out next summer maybe, I'm thinking. And I also have a children's theater company called Southern California, that's my camp. We have, it's the Children's Theater Group of Southern California, and it's a theater company for children in North Hollywood, which I'm kind of passionate about. And then we have a summer program, which is an art camp for 5 to 13-year-olds, and we cover like all the bases, the visual and the performing arts, like over 40 different workshops. And it's like my other life, as I'm surrounded by children, and it's kind of cool to see them become these very self-confident, strong little individuals. For some reason, I think theater attracts kids and individuals who have a hard time in school and socially, and that's probably why we are in now. And it's just great to see that they have a home away from home where they can really discover themselves and feel good about who they are. So that's my other life.
Yeah, I also have another life too. I still do voice acting, but I'm not like out there pushing it anymore. I became involved with some entrepreneurial pursuits, and right now I have my own company that puts up WordPress blogs, so I put up blogs for people, and I'm also a blogger. So I have my own blog for myself for my acting career called RebeccaForstadt.com, but I also have about 6 other blogs, and but I just work with all kinds of really fascinating people, you know, just people that are building businesses and you know, kind of transformational people and people in the health field and all kinds of things. So it's a lot of fun.
That's really cool.
Life
I
outside
became a
of
I know.
Tenchi.
I realized I was a geek at heart. Who knew?
We all are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it.
But how many episodes at a time can you guys knock out, you know, during a recording session?
Usually about, we've done like three, I would say, is like pretty much the usual.
It can depend on how heavy your part
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
in that
depends on how
episode.
many lines you have.
Mhm.
I mean, you could do, you know, whip through a whole bunch of them if you just have a few lines in each one. But if you're a main character, you know, that could take, you know, quite a few hours to just get through one sometimes.
You guys still under, I think it was guild rules, you can only do like 4 hours at a time at that?
I think for the most part, we don't work more than 4 hours if possible, on it, especially for looping or dubbing. Maybe if you're doing an ADR job, you know, for a feature film, you might work all day on that. But that's about all that people's voices can take, especially in anime, because you're always screaming and yelling and, you know, fighting and doing things like that. Falling out of airplanes. It takes a lot out of you. I had this part, it wasn't an anime, but it's this part in the Mr. Men show called Miss Giggles. And every time she does a line, she's giggling her head off. And I can't believe how physically demanding that is. Because what happened when I was recording it, we had this huge fire near where I lived. And there was a lot of smoke in the air and stuff, and it just really got into my lungs. And so ever since that happened about 2 years ago, it's taken me a long time to get my lung capacity back, and it's still not really where it used to be. So I used to be a great screamer, and you know, I could do all those reaction things and stuff. Not as easy anymore.
Do you have any more questions?
When you guys, when you have one of those pretty intensive sessions, how do you deal with that after the fact, the soreness, and you know, how do you get your voice back to the way it was?
Well, hopefully you control your voice, because we've learned as actors, especially if you've been on stage and you're learning how to project your voice or singing or, you know, any of those things where you learn how to control it so that you don't knock out your voice. But if the worst part is if you have, well, one time I did this series called Snow Fairy Sugar, and I had a lot of episodes, and we were working really crazy hours, like late at night and everything. And I had caught in a cold, and it went into bronchitis, and I just was having the hardest time. And there's several episodes in that show where my voice just sounds really gravelly. It's just not me. I wish I could have redone it. And that's always, you know, scary.
Yeah, our nightmare, laryngitis.
Yeah, it's more preventative, hopefully. You go in and you do it in the right voice and in the right register so that you don't wreck it. If you do, I had a session last week. I do Stater Brothers Markets weekly commercials, which is a local grocery store chain. And I had a session last week. You know how every once in a while you take a sip of water and it just goes down the wrong pipe?
Yeah.
I did that in the car on the way to the session.
Oh.
And I was coughing on the way to the session, and I had 20 minutes before the session. I couldn't talk, and I thought, oh, this is awful. I'm not going to be able to do my session. And then I calmed down and just did some of the old warm-ups that I remember, like from way back in the beginning. Za 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 za, blah 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 blah. Just dumb stuff in the car driving down Beverly Boulevard, and got it back. So I think it has a little bit to do with not panicking and just, you know, we've learned how to do it. There's maybe that time I didn't actually ruin anything because I had already done my warm-ups that morning and I was ready to go. So it was a minor deal.
I think a lot of our directors are sensitive to it too. You know, they'll say, oh boy, you've got a lot of yelling and screaming to do, and so they'll always do that at the end. And you know, they, for the most part, I'd say they work with you and are really helpful and conscientious of that. They don't want us to lose our voice.
They need us to keep our voice.
So what happens if, say, you actually did blow your voice on a roll? I mean, like you're right in the middle of it, and all of a sudden, it just doesn't come out anymore. What happens then?
A lot of tea and hot lemonade or lemon, hot lemon. It really works good. Or
I think only once I literally had to cancel a session, and I had gotten sick and I had laryngitis, and I just felt so bad. It was like, no, I've got to go to work because they were all counting on me, and I went, and I think I did like 1 or 2 lines, and they just went, Sherry. We'll reschedule, don't worry, go home. So, that was like my only time I really felt like I failed them.
Yeah, for Tenchi, it's not like we were doing episode day after day after day after day, all bunched together. So I don't remember ever having to. I do remember 1 or 2 sessions where I felt a little raw at the end of the session, but I didn't have to come in the next morning or anything like that, so I could rest it. And I never really encountered any problems like that.
And here's a fun question. In Tenchi, since he never actually chose one of the girls, who do you think he would have chosen?
Tommy, of course. Is that a question, right?
I don't think the guy has the cojones to make a choice.
I think he's more on the other side. I don't know.
I just think it was one of those shows that was ahead of its time. We were very strong women in there, and kind of, there were certain times, certain things he did, you'd be going, would she really be after him still?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, that was a fantasy, let's face it. I wonder, Matt must get asked that question every time he does a convention.
Probably, yeah.
Who would Tenchi have chosen?
Probably, yeah.
He was kind of a sweet little innocent guy, though,
I'm going to email him and just ask him. Settle this once and for all.
Yeah, he gets an email from all of us. No, really, who?
So here's a question then, following on to that. If he didn't choose, would your characters have been willing to share?
Ryoko would not. Oh no.
But I feel like we all were kind of sharing anyway. A lot. When you think about it, we did a lot of sharing in that show.
I think Mihoshi would definitely share.
I think for Ryoko, the fighting was part of the fun, so maybe she would. As long as she didn't have to admit that was what she was doing.
Sasami would just cook him a meal and win his heart that way. If all else failed, just get in the kitchen, Sasami.
Okay. Do you mind if we just have a quick photo session?
Sure.
We have